Let me ask you first your reaction to the terrible events in Kenya, in Nairobi. I know France lost some people, some citizens there. What is your reaction to what happened?
Nous avons deux citoyennes françaises qui
Two
sont
French
mortes.
fellow citizens died. They've been murdered by terrorists. It is very painful for us. I've spoken to the father and the husband of these two ladies earlier today, and we stand by them. We stand by all the victims because we know that terrorism is based in Africa. It comes from Somalia, and we have to keep fighting terrorism. This is the reason why France took its part, including on the occasion of its intervention together with the African forces in order to eradicate terrorism in the Sahel region. But terrorism is everywhere where there is chaos. In Somalia, there is still chaos, and terrorism can grow, and we can see that they're striking everywhere.
Are they on the rise, or do you think you have them on the run?
I believe that in Somalia, they are on the decline, given that the African forces have won and they were defeated, but this is precisely because they are on the defensive that they are attacking Nairobi and Kenya, because we know how Kenya has been active and the role they've been playing in Somalia. In Western Africa, in other places, they are declining, but they can still strike. We've seen that in Nigeria, in Niger, a couple of months ago. So we should not believe that we are done with terrorism simply because we had a number of victories in Somalia or in other places. Even more so, given that there are countries like Libya, which are some sort of safe havens for terrorists. There is some trafficking, there are some weapons, so in Libya they can organize a number of actions. So it is for us to organize, to coordinate, to have a strategy in order to tackle terrorism.
France famously went into Mali. You did it fairly cost-free. I know some soldiers died, but not too many, thank goodness. And you were able to pave the way for democratic elections. Do you consider that a success? I know you're planning to pull out your troops there. Is it over in Mali, or is this something that could grow again?
This operation has been successful in Mali. First of all, because it is something that the Africans themselves wanted. France would not have gone to Mali alone. We were asked to go there, and we did that within the UN framework with an international mandate. Also, it was cooperation between African forces and European forces, including French ones. We had a very short period of time to organize our intervention, a couple of hours. I took the decision, but we managed to succeed over terrorism in Mali, to secure the territory, and to enable Mali to have a democratic transition. And the elections were held on the agreed date, and we know that this has been successful with a high level of participation and a very high score for the number of votes for the president elected. So we show there that when we have a coordinated action, resolute action, when we have the support of the African forces for the Sahel, we can succeed.
You mentioned Libya. France, obviously, along with Britain, really took the lead, and America followed. The famous lead from behind, France and Britain led from the front. But there's been quite a lot of worry and criticism of the result now, because, as you say, it's a haven, it's a transit point, it's awash in weapons and militias who are not under central government control. Does that concern you about the idea of intervention? Because do you consider Libya a success, or is there a lot more work to be done there?
The military operation has been successful, given that it enabled the opposition to win, to topple Gaddafi and organize elections. But unfortunately, there was not the necessary follow-up, that is, the coordinated action of the Allies, so that Libya could rebuild itself both economically, politically, but also in terms of security. I therefore proposed that France, but not just France, a number of major countries, could bring a much stronger cooperation compared to what's been done before. Cooperation and support to the Libyan leaders so that they can organize security everywhere. And they have to eradicate groups, in particular in the south, because they have weapons, they can export them, they can use them, and therefore we must provide the Libyan police and the army as well all the necessary support.
And finally, Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, won a historic new term. What is your reaction to that? Of course, the French people overwhelmingly backed her, thinking that her victory would be good for France.
D'abord, Madame Merkel a réussi à mettre son économie en bon ordre.
To
Elle n'en a pas le
put
seul mérite.
her economy
Ses prédécesseurs avaient
on
déjà
track.
engagé,
Of course,
l'Allemagne
she's
sur la
not
voie des
the only
réformes
one to have done it. It is also due to her predecessors who had started a number of reforms on competitiveness. The German people gave her a mandate to govern. I'm not sure with what coalition yet, but I want France and Germany to take an initiative within the coming weeks so that Europe, which is out of the Eurozone crisis, can continue its reforms and at the same time support further growth and employment, and have some joint policies on the energy, digital economy. And France and Germany have a special responsibility in Europe. And as it happens, Mrs. Merkel and myself, we have another 4 years in our mandate, so we can work together. And even though we have some different political background, we certainly want Europe to be at the forefront. And for too long, both herself and myself suffered from the image of a Europe in a crisis, Europe that was being looked at negatively.
Mr. President, thank you on that optimistic note.
Merci.
Thank you for joining me.